Hey everyone, welcome to Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Now in this video, I'm going to discuss the new footage from Scream 5 that just came out today on Good Morning America, where Dewey gives us the 3 new rules to survive being hunted by Ghostface. Let's do it. So on today's episode of Good Morning America, David Arquette was interviewed, and during his segment, they played an extended scene from Scream 5 where we see Dewey giving the 3 new rules to survive being hunted by Ghostface. Let's watch him now.
Never trust the love interest. They seem sweet, caring, supportive, and then welcome to Act 3 where they're trying to rip your head off. Rule number 2, the killer's motive is always connected to something in the past. And rule number 3, and this is the most important rule, the first victim always has a friend group that the killer is a part of. And look for the killer there. If you can find out why they're doing this, you can figure out who's next.
Now, in previous trailers and promo spots, we have heard Dewey say there are rules to survive, and we've heard a couple of these rules included in various trailers. However, this is the first clip where we hear them all together at one time, and we hear rule number 1 for the very first time. So let's go over the rules together. Rule number 1, never trust the love interest. They seem sweet, caring, supportive. Then welcome to Act 3, where they are trying to rip your head off. So this rule definitely harkens back to Scream 96, as it is the only Scream film where Sydney's love interest actually ended up being the killer. Because her boyfriend in Scream 2 was Derek, and he was not a killer. She had no love interest in Scream 3, and none that we know of in Scream 4. So while all the Scream films are canon for Scream 5, there is, yet another indicator here of how this movie is really aligning itself more with Scream 96 than it is with the sequels. Almost as if it were the next film after Scream 96, but at the same time not ignoring the other films, but they're almost making it, writing it, filming it in a way that this could be like a sequel to the first film in a lot of different ways. And I'm really interested to see if this feel of Scream 5, having that feel of the being a direct sequel, continues throughout the whole movie. And all indications really are that it will continue. We even have that parallel clothing where we see certain characters like Mindy and Richie wearing similar clothing to characters in Scream 1, like with Randy and with Billy, and the house party finale that we're going to get at Stu's house again. I mean, that's a direct parallel to Scream 1 as well. So I think this movie is going to have the same feel and a lot of mirrored scenes, not like identical, but very similar scenes to what we saw with Scream 96. Now, one more observation about this first rule. In this scene, did you notice the reaction of Richie, who is played by Jack Quaid? He is Sam's love interest in the movie. So when Dewey says, never trust the love interest, look at his first reaction. It looks like he is thinking, wait, what? What are you talking about? He was not expecting to hear that. And then after this, Sam turns around to look at him, and his face changes to this expression. Now here, he has that, Sam, you don't actually believe that I would betray you, do you? Look all over his face. And the question I have regarding Richie is this. Is he being coy, or is Richie being sincere with his reactions in this scene? Now we're going to have to wait, of course, until January 14th to find out, but that's one thing I'm going to be excited to see what happens. Okay, on to rule number 2. The rule number 2 is the killer's motive is always connected to the past. So this rule is pretty straightforward, and unlike the first one, this one applies to all of the first 4 Scream films. I mean, the motive of every mastermind in the previous films is indeed connected to the past. In Scream 96, Billy's motive was connected to his mom abandoning him as a result of Maureen Prescott having an affair with his dad. In Scream 2, it was Billy's mom seeking revenge for Sidney murdering her son. And of course, in Scream 3, it was Roman's jealousy that Maureen chose Sidney over him and basically rejecting Roman that prompted that. And then finally, in Scream 4, Jill wanted to become Sidney because of all that happened to Sidney in her past, in her life, her getting all the attention and the fame. So she wanted to become basically Sidney. So rule number 2 covers all of the previous masterminds in the franchise. Finally, let's review rule number 3, which Dewey says is the most important rule of all of them. Rule number 3 is that the first victim always has a friend group that the killer is a part of. Look for the killer there. If you can find out why they are doing this, you can find out who's next. So this rule applies to all of the Scream films as well. In Scream 1, we know that Casey used to date Stu, and while Stephen Orth was the first person murdered, it's entirely possible he was friends with Billy or Stu at some point, or Billy most likely. So that really does make sense. And remember this, Dewey would know the full story, so he would have that information that maybe was not revealed in Scream 1. Dewey would know that, so it makes sense. Now for Scream 2, Maureen Evans and Phil Stevens attended Windsor College, and it's entirely possible that Mickey knew them. I mean, he probably had class with them, and it was very likely that he was friends with Phil or Maureen, but most likely Phil, because Phil was technically the very first victim, although you could say that they both qualify because they were basically killed at the same time, same place. So either way, so we don't have the full backstory here, but it does not automatically mean that there's no connection, nor does it automatically mean that there is one. However, again, I go back to Dewey. Since Dewey is relaying this information, it is much more credible to think that Mickey was indeed friends at some level with Phil or Maureen. It just that's why he's phrasing this rule like this. Now, for Scream 3, we do not know if Cotton knew Angelina or not. However, it's extremely probable that Cotton was a friend of Roman. I mean, they're both in showbiz, and as we know, celebrities often run in the same circles in Hollywood. So this really does make complete sense. It would make sense that they knew each other, being that they're both in Hollywood, both in showbiz. It just adds up. And now, finally, for Scream 4, we saw Marnie Cooper be the first real victim, not from Stab 6 or 7, but both her and Jenny were known by Kirby, Olivia, and Jill. And we don't know if Charlie was her friend or not, so that's possible as well. But it seems most likely she was friends with Jill. They certainly knew who she was, so we don't know, again, to the extent of their relationship. We don't know. But it's obviously safe to assume that they did. And again, I go back to Dewey. Dewey would have the knowledge that you and I don't have, that wasn't included. He knows the whole story, being the sheriff there. So he would know if they were friends and from that friend group or not. But based on that, I would say yes, definitely. I trust Dewey. So that leads us to Scream 5. And who will be the first victim? Will it be Vince? Will it be Tara? Or someone else altogether that we don't even know about yet? We only have 8 more days to finally find out the answers. All right, guys, I want to know what you think about this new footage of Dewey giving us the 3 new rules to survive a ghost face hunting. I want to hear your opinions, thoughts, ideas, and theories. So start leaving your comments below right now so we can discuss it together. Well, that is it for this update, but I'll be back soon with more Scream and other horror movie content. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, this is Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Thank you for watching.